Did you know the suave Hollywood legend who seduced Greta Garbo on screen got graylisted by the studios and nearly erased from movies because he and his wife were too liberal? His wife got absolutely destroyed by a young Richard Nixon, called the Pink Lady, pink right down to her underwear, straight-up Red Scare smear campaign that helped launch Tricky Dick to power. Meanwhile, this guy fought in 2 world wars, won 2 Oscars decades apart, and came back swinging like a boss.
Here goes. A man comes into a restaurant. He sits down at the table and he says, "Waiter, bring me a cup of coffee without cream." 5 minutes later, the waiter comes back and says, "I'm sorry, sir, we have no cream. Can it be without milk?" Not funny, huh?
No.
Well, it is funny. Everybody else thought it was funny. Maybe you didn't get the point.
This ain't just another old Hollywood story. This is Melvyn Douglas, the charming survivor they tried to cancel and failed. Stick around, you're not ready for this comeback. Melvyn Douglas was born Melvyn Edward Hesselberg on April 5, 1901, in Macon, Georgia, at a time when the American South was still heavily influenced by the traditions and values that had emerged after the Civil War. Although he would spend much of his life moving from place to place, his southern birthplace gave him a charm and elegance that would later become one of his trademarks as a leading man in Hollywood. His family background was a fascinating blend of cultures and traditions. His father, Edward Gregory Hesselberg, was a Jewish immigrant from Riga, Latvia, then part of the Russian Empire. A gifted concert pianist, composer, and music teacher, Edward brought European sophistication, a deep love of classical music, and Jewish cultural heritage into the household. For many years, however, Melvyn was unaware of the full extent of his father's background. Because of his father's career as a music teacher and performer, the family rarely stayed in one place for long. They moved frequently throughout the United States and Canada, living in places such as Toronto, Ontario, and Lincoln, Nebraska, after leaving Georgia. As a result, Melvyn never enjoyed the kind of stable childhood that many children take for granted. He attended numerous schools, constantly adjusting to new classmates and surroundings, and the frequent relocations eventually contributed to his not completing high school. Yet the constant movement also brought unexpected advantages. His father's devotion to music exposed him to the arts from a very young age, while his mother's stories and values connected him to America's early history and traditions. Traveling from city to city broadened his perspective and helped him become adaptable, qualities that would later serve him well in the unpredictable world of acting. Remarkably, his first brush with public attention came almost as soon as he could walk. His proud parents entered him in several baby competitions, and in 1903 the young Melvyn won first prize in the Georgia State Fair Baby Show. As he grew older, he became increasingly convinced that the stage was where he belonged. His parents, however, had different plans. His father hoped he would pursue a career in music, while his mother imagined him becoming either a lawyer or a minister. Melvyn respected their wishes, but deep down he knew his future lay elsewhere. Acting was the dream he refused to abandon. That independent streak revealed itself dramatically when America entered World War I. Still in his mid-teens, Melvyn lied about his age and enlisted in the United States Army. It was a bold decision that showed both courage and determination, reportedly spending part of his service working in a venereal disease ward. The experience exposed him to responsibilities and realities far beyond his years. He remained in the Army until 1919, and when the war ended, he returned to civilian life with an even stronger desire to pursue a career on the stage. The road ahead was anything but glamorous. Returning from military service, the young man still known as Melvyn Hesselberg faced long odds. He had never completed high school, had few industry connections, and possessed little more than ambition, determination, and natural charisma. There was no fast track to fame waiting for him. Instead, he began the hard way, joining stock theater companies that traveled from town to town, performing a constantly changing repertoire of plays. Throughout the early 1920s, Melvyn crisscrossed the Midwest, working in cities such as Sioux City, Iowa, Evansville, Indiana, Madison, Wisconsin, and Detroit, Michigan. Life on the road was demanding. The pay was modest, the schedules were exhausting, and actors often had to learn entirely new roles within days. Determined to improve his craft, he also spent significant time in Chicago, where he earned a scholarship to work with William Owen's Shakespearean Repertory Company. There he immersed himself in classical theater, performing a wide variety of roles that challenged him as an actor. One week he might portray a young romantic lead, and the next an elderly character requiring hours of makeup and preparation. Looking back years later, he joked that he had become the Maurice Evans of King Street, a humorous reference to the relentless workload and the sheer number of characters he was required to play. There were no overnight breakthroughs, only years of constant touring, rejection, experimentation, and hard-earned lessons. By the mid-1920s, he realized that even his name might need some adjustment. While working with Jesse Bonstell's theater company in Detroit around 1925, he made a decision that would stay with him for the rest of his life. He dropped the surname Hesselberg and adopted the stage name Melvyn Douglas, borrowing Douglas from his maternal grandmother's family name. It was a practical move. In 1928, he finally arrived in New York and made his Broadway debut in the play A Free Soul, directed by George Cukor. He played the role of Ace Wilfong, a smooth-talking gangster character who would later be portrayed by Clark Gable in the film adaptation. Like countless aspiring actors before him, he continued paying his dues while waiting for the right opportunity. That opportunity finally arrived in 1930 with Tonight or Never, the fifth Broadway production of his career. In the romantic comedy, Douglas was cast as the mysterious, unknown gentleman, a role perfectly suited to his sophistication, charm, and growing confidence as a performer. The play became a major success and transformed his standing within the theater world. The production changed his life in more ways than one. His co-star was Helen Gahagan, the talented actress who would soon become his wife and lifelong partner. Together they captivated audiences, and Douglas emerged from the production as one of Broadway's most promising leading men. For the first time, critics and producers began seeing him not merely as a hard-working actor, but as a genuine star in the making. The success of Tonight or Never attracted the attention of Hollywood producer Samuel Goldwyn, who signed Douglas to appear in the film adaptation opposite Gloria Swanson. After years of traveling, struggling, learning, and patiently building his reputation one role at a time, Melvyn Douglas finally stood on the threshold of a new chapter. Tonight or Never, 1931.
Why did you put on all your lovely jewelry if you were coming to see a gigolo?
Oh, I wasn't afraid.
I'm surprised at you.
Are you giving me a lesson in morality?
Oh, no. No, in risks. Didn't you know that a gigolo could take all your jewelry away from you? Your lovely emeralds?
Oh, I wouldn't fight for them. They've never brought me any happiness.
Still, women have been killed for less.
Melvyn Douglas's first major Hollywood breakthrough came with Tonight or Never, 1931, a romantic comedy that introduced him to movie audiences after his success on Broadway. The film stars Gloria Swanson as Nella Vago, a world-famous opera singer whose mentor believes she cannot fully express emotion in her performances because she has never experienced true love. That changes when she meets Jim Fletcher, played by Melvyn Douglas, a charming and mysterious American who awakens feelings she has never known before. Douglas's role as Jim Fletcher was crucial to the film's success. At first, Jim appears to be little more than an attractive admirer who lingers outside Nella's window, silently intriguing her. However, as the story develops, he becomes the catalyst for her emotional awakening. As Jim Fletcher, Douglas displayed the qualities that would soon make him one of Hollywood's most popular leading men: natural charm, sophistication, confidence, and effortless screen presence. Unlike many actors of the era who relied on theatrical performances, Douglas brought a relaxed and modern style to the role, making him stand out despite being a newcomer to films. The movie was adapted from the Broadway hit that had already made Douglas a rising star, and producer Samuel Goldwyn was so impressed by his stage performance that he cast him in the film version. The success of Tonight or Never effectively launched his Hollywood career. The film is also remembered as a notable pre-code romance, featuring flirtatious dialogue and daring themes that later became difficult to show under Hollywood's censorship rules. Variety regarded him as a promising leading man whose sophistication and easy charm made him a natural romantic partner for Swanson. Although the film received no major award nominations, it remains significant as the movie that transformed Melvyn Douglas from a hard-working Broadway actor into a genuine Hollywood star. The Wiser Sex, 1932. After his Hollywood breakthrough, Melvyn Douglas appeared opposite Claudette Colbert in the crime drama The Wiser Sex, 1932. Douglas played David Rolfe, a young lawyer who finds himself accused of a murder he did not commit. While David spends much of the story trapped by circumstances, the film's real driving force is Colbert's character, Margaret Hughes, who secretly infiltrates the criminal underworld to gather evidence and clear his name. Instead of portraying the character as a helpless victim, he gave him intelligence and quiet determination, making audiences sympathize with his situation. The Wiser Sex did not generate major critical excitement. However, it remains important in Douglas's career because it paired him with one of Paramount's biggest stars and helped establish him as a reliable leading man during Hollywood's early sound era. The Old Dark House, 1932.
Is there anybody there? Said the traveler.
Knock again, louder.
I should have thought that was loud enough to wake the dead. That's an idea.
What is?
Wouldn't it be dramatic? Supposing the people inside were dead, all stretched out with the lights quietly burning about them.
I'm sure it would be very amusing.
I'm sure I could do with a drink. If people have to be soaked, they should be soaked inside, not out.
One of the most memorable films of Melvyn Douglas's early career was The Old Dark House, directed by James Whale shortly after his success with Frankenstein. Today, it is considered a classic of early horror cinema and a major influence on countless haunted house films that followed. Douglas played Roger Pendrell, a witty and courageous World War I veteran who becomes stranded in a remote Welsh mansion during a violent storm. Surrounded by a collection of strange and unsettling characters, including Boris Karloff's menacing butler Morgan, Roger serves as the audience's guide through the growing chaos and mystery. While critics at the time focused largely on James Whale's direction, Boris Karloff, and Charles Laughton's eccentric performance, Douglas earned praise for bringing charm, humor, and stability to the story. His relaxed and natural performance helped ground the film's increasingly bizarre events, making Roger one of its most likable characters. Mary Burns, Fugitive, 1935.
Well, back already, nurse? Well, it seems only yesterday you went for that coffee. Who put that thing there?
Just a minute,
Who's that? You're not my nurse. You're not either one of my nurses. One of them grunts and the other one squawks. You've got a human voice. How'd you get in here?
I brought you some coffee.
Coffee? Why do they keep calling that stuff they serve me in here coffee? Why don't they break down and admit they dip it up from the Dead Sea? Ick. Hey, what's this? It smells like coffee. Hey, human voice, where are you?
Right here.
Tell me, does that look like coffee?
I think so.
What? Holy mackerel, it is coffee. Well, who smuggled that into the hospital?
In Mary Burns' Fugitive, Douglas appeared opposite Sylvia Sidney in a gritty crime drama that was much darker than his usual romantic roles. Sidney plays Mary Burns, a woman who becomes entangled with gangsters and finds herself on the run from both criminals and the law. Douglas played Bart Slade, Mary's loyal boyfriend and one of the few genuinely decent people in her troubled life. Unlike the sophisticated playboys he often portrayed, Bart is an honest, hard-working man whose concern for Mary provides the emotional heart of the film. The movie stood out for its realistic depiction of crime and social hardship during the Depression era. Critics praised Sylvia Sidney's powerful performance, but many also noted Douglas's sincerity and likability. His restrained acting helped make Bart believable and sympathetic, rather than merely a conventional romantic interest. One notable piece of trivia is that the film reflected the tough, socially conscious style that was popular in Warner Brothers' influenced crime dramas of the 1930s. She Married Her Boss, 1935.
I expected this marriage to be something different. At least you led me to believe so. You've changed. You're not the Julia Scott I used to know. Here, well, if I must say so, it makes just like any other woman. This marriage is just like any other marriage. Change that's come over you makes you appear ludicrous.
Is that the way you feel about me?
Well, what do you expect me to feel? I've always known you as a competent, sensible woman, a woman whose career meant something to her. All of a sudden, you start flouncing around in soft things, wearing negligees, being coy and things like that. I don't understand you anymore. As a matter of fact, I'm a little scared.
By 1935, Melvyn Douglas had become one of Hollywood's most dependable romantic leads, and She Married Her Boss perfectly showcased that image. The film stars Claudette Colbert as Julia Scott, a secretary who unexpectedly marries her wealthy employer after becoming involved in his complicated family life. Douglas played Richard Barclay, the successful businessman whose professional relationship with Julia gradually turns into romance. Rather than portraying Richard as a cold executive, Douglas gave the character warmth, intelligence, and vulnerability, making the romance feel natural and believable. Critics praised the chemistry between Douglas and Claudette Colbert, one of the finest comedy actresses of the era. Reviews in Variety highlighted the charm of the leading pair and the film's light-hearted entertainment value. Douglas's sophisticated screen persona was particularly effective here, further strengthening his reputation as one of Hollywood's premier romantic leading men. Women of Glamour, 1937.
Beautiful. Oh, I do like it.
Very interesting.
You know, when I finished, I thought for a moment or two maybe they'll hate it.
Oh, Dick, you must have been crazy.
Yes, I guess I must have been crazy. You don't hate it, do you? No, it doesn't disturb you or annoy you. I thought you might get the smell of sweat from it. But it doesn't smell of sweat, does it? No, it's just one of those big, clean paintings. Nothing controversial, nothing out of line. Bright, like one of those cheerful portraits that I paint. It's interesting and well painted and well composed and slick and smooth, but it doesn't mean one single blessed thing.
In Women of Glamour, Douglas moved into lighter, romantic comedy territory. He played Richard "Dick" Stark, a successful businessman whose life becomes complicated by romance and misunderstandings involving a young woman determined to improve her social standing. His performance helped elevate material that might otherwise have seemed routine. Contemporary reviews generally regarded the film as pleasant entertainment rather than a major cinematic achievement. Critics noted Douglas's reliability as a leading man and praised the appealing chemistry among the cast. Arsène Lupin returns, 1938.
These. Bullets from a pair of Rossi Superior. I'll trade them for your autograph. Done. A fair trade.
Is that something I should see?
I don't know. Ask Steve.
Well, it's too incriminating. Besides, I'm not going to be in Paris long enough to use telephone numbers.
You know what he really has is a very rare autograph. There'll never be another one like it in the whole world.
In Arsène Lupin Returns, Douglas took on one of the most famous characters in detective fiction. He played Arsène Lupin, the legendary French gentleman thief. Unlike many criminals in cinema, Lupin is sophisticated, intelligent, and often more likable than the authorities pursuing him. The film follows a series of jewel thefts that raise suspicions that the supposedly retired Lupin has returned to his old ways. Douglas clearly enjoyed the role, bringing elegance, wit, and playful confidence to the character. His natural sophistication made him ideally suited to portray a master thief who relies more on intelligence and charm than violence. Critics appreciated the film's lighthearted tone and Douglas's charismatic performance. Reviews frequently described him as perfectly cast, since Lupin's mixture of humor, intelligence, and sophistication closely resembled Douglas's established screen image. One interesting piece of trivia is that the character had already appeared in several earlier films, but Douglas's interpretation remains one of the most popular among classic film fans. Although the movie received no major award nominations, it remains an enjoyable showcase for his charm and comic timing. That Certain Age, 1938.
Nothing personal. You just want to get rid of me. Well, let me tell you something. That's exactly what I want myself.
That Certain Age allowed Douglas to demonstrate a different side of his talent. The film stars Deanna Durbin as a teenage girl whose youthful crush creates complications for the adults around her. Douglas played Roger Manville, a successful publisher engaged to a woman played by Irene Rich. Roger unexpectedly becomes the object of Durbin's innocent romantic fantasies, creating a series of humorous and awkward situations. What makes Douglas's performance notable is his restraint. Instead of exploiting the comedy for broad laughs, he portrayed Roger as a decent and understanding man trying to navigate an increasingly uncomfortable situation. His maturity and natural charm helped keep the story believable. Critics praised Deanna Durbin's performance and the film's family-friendly appeal, but Douglas also received positive notices for providing stability and sophistication to the picture. The movie became one of Universal's successful Durbin vehicles and helped strengthen Douglas's reputation as one of Hollywood's most dependable leading men.
Ninotchka, 1939.
Ninotchka.
I must go.
Or shall I say special envoy Yakoshova?
Let's forget we ever met.
No. I have a much better suggestion. Let's forget the telephone ever rang. I never heard that you're Yakoshova. You're Ninotchka. My Ninotchka.
I was sent here by my country to fight you.
All right, fight me. Fight me as much as you want. Only fight me tomorrow morning. There's nothing sweeter than sharing a secret with an enemy.
If Theodora Goes Wild established Melvyn Douglas as a major star, Ninotchka elevated him into the top rank of Hollywood leading men. Directed by Ernst Lubitsch and starring Greta Garbo, the film is widely regarded as one of the greatest romantic comedies ever made. Douglas played Count Léon Dalgou, a charming Parisian aristocrat who falls in love with Ninotchka, a stern Soviet envoy sent to France on official business. At first, Ninotchka is cold, disciplined, and resistant to romance, but Leon gradually breaks through her emotional defenses. This role perfectly suited Douglas's strengths. Leon is witty, sophisticated, romantic, and endlessly charming. Yet Douglas avoided turning him into a shallow playboy. Instead, he gave the character genuine warmth and intelligence, making the romance believable and emotionally satisfying. Critics were enthusiastic. The New York Times praised the film's wit and elegance, while many reviewers highlighted the sparkling chemistry between Douglas and Greta Garbo. Variety regarded the film as one of the year's finest comedies and noted Douglas's valuable contribution to its success. Several critics argued that without Douglas's effortless charm, Garbo's transformation from rigid communist official to woman in love would not have been nearly as convincing. The film earned 4 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, Best Actress for Greta Garbo, Best Original Story, and Best Screenplay. Although Douglas himself was not nominated, many modern critics consider his performance one of the most important elements in the film's success. An especially important piece of trivia is that the movie was advertised with the famous slogan, "Garbo laughs," because it was one of the first films to showcase Greta Garbo in a full-scale comedy. Douglas played a crucial role in making that transformation work. Today, Ninotchka is considered a masterpiece of romantic comedy, and Count Leon Dalgou remains one of the defining roles of Melvyn Douglas's career. The Amazing Mr. Williams, 1939.
Lieutenant, there's been a murder uptown at the Marymount Apartments.
Oh, but listen, Joe,
The government says to get up there pronto.
Listen, darling, order me a... Oh, never mind. At least we had some chicken soup together. They'll never be able to take that away from us. Bye.
What's the idea, Mac? This is supposed to be my night off.
You're a cop, Kenny, not a night owl.
I was just having dinner with Maxine.
Yeah, I know. And I suppose she was trying to get you to resign from the force again.
Yeah, and she's absolutely right, too. What's she going to tell the children? What's she going to say when they ask, "Where's Papa?"
The Amazing Mr. Williams gave Melvyn Douglas a chance to show off his comedic talents in a lighthearted detective story. Douglas played Kenny Williams, a brilliant police detective whose obsession with solving crimes constantly interferes with his plans to marry his long-suffering fiancée, played by Joan Blondell. Unlike the sophisticated aristocrats and romantic gentlemen he often portrayed, Kenny Williams is energetic, absent-minded, and completely consumed by his work. Douglas brought considerable charm and comic timing to the role, making the character's obsession amusing rather than frustrating. His chemistry with Joan Blondell became one of the film's biggest strengths. Contemporary reviews praised the film's fast pace and humor. Variety considered it an entertaining comedy mystery, while critics appreciated Douglas's ability to carry a role that relied heavily on personality and comic energy. Third Finger, Left Hand, 1940.
I guess Margot didn't tell you about us. Tell me what? We decided we were kind of hasty in breaking up, so we're going to start over. Oh, are you, my little sweet?
Dad!
Cutie pie,
Dad, listen!
Yes, I know. Don't, if you knew how to...
You rattle-brained idiot. Do you realize what you've done?
Sure. You invented a husband, and I've given him to you.
That's what you think, is it?
That, my love, is what I know.
You're insane. I'm going right in and tell them that you're an imposter. My husband is in South America. I met you on a ship, and you're annoyed because I won't see you, and you're trying to upset me.
Okay, you tell them, and I'll show them. I've got proof that you were never married, and that there is no Tony Merrick. I cabled Las Palmas, Bright Eyes.
You cabled?
Mm-hmm, I sure did. So if you want to tell them, go right ahead, then we can both talk.
Honestly, now.
Look, I don't know how many other suckers have fallen for this little act, but you picked the wrong victim this time.
One of Douglas's most enjoyable romantic comedies of the early 1940s was Third Finger, Left Hand, 1940, co-starring Myrna Loy. The film revolves around Margot Sherwood, a successful businesswoman who invents an imaginary husband to avoid unwanted romantic attention. Her carefully constructed lie begins to unravel when she meets a charming stranger. Douglas played Jeff Thompson, a rugged and independent businessman who unexpectedly becomes involved in Margot's complicated deception. The role allowed Douglas to blend humor, romance, and frustration as he tries to understand the mysterious woman he is falling for. Critics responded positively to the sparkling chemistry between Douglas and Myrna Loy. The New York Times praised the picture as an engaging romantic comedy, while reviews frequently noted the appeal of its two stars. Douglas's relaxed charm and natural sophistication helped elevate what could have been a routine screwball comedy. The film received no Academy Award nominations, but it remains one of the strongest romantic comedies in Douglas's filmography and a fine example of his ability to work alongside Hollywood's most accomplished leading ladies. Two-Faced Woman, 1941.
Now, Karen, get this straight. It may sound pompous to say it, but my plans are important. My position is important. Over 3 million people read my magazine weekly, and I decide its policy. That's much more important than anything you can possibly say. You want to ski? I'll get you a job in the winter sports department of Saks Fifth Avenue.
In Two-Faced Woman, Melvyn Douglas reunited with Greta Garbo after the success of Ninotchka. He played Larry Blake, a magazine editor whose marriage becomes complicated when his wife invents a glamorous twin sister to recapture his attention. Douglas brought his trademark sophistication and charm to the role, providing a strong romantic counterpart to Garbo. Critics generally agreed that Douglas and Garbo remained an appealing screen pair. The film generated controversy due to its romantic themes and was partially re-edited after complaints from censorship groups. Important trivia. This was Greta Garbo's final film. After its release, she retired permanently from acting, making Melvyn Douglas her last leading man on screen. We Were Dancing, 1942.
That's good. Now, let me see. 40 inches. Quite a chest.
Gee, thanks.
Now, the arms.
Do you want me to hold this?
Yes, if you don't mind.
There we are.
Oh, 3 feet, perhaps. Mustn't crowd, Joe.
Good.
Now, as to length, I should say about 8 feet. I'll throw in a couple of inches for good measure. That should be comfy.
Oh, fine.
Just a moment. Now, then, overall, about, 5 and a half. All right. Shall we say, then, a bed 8 by 6? Oh, what do you think, Vicky?
A little broad, perhaps, but whatever you say, darling.
All right, then.
Based on a play by Noel Coward, We Were Dancing featured Douglas as Prince Sergei, a charming Russian aristocrat who falls in love with a married woman played by Norma Shearer. The film relied on witty dialogue, romance, and sophisticated comedy, genres perfectly suited to Douglas's screen persona. Critics praised Douglas's effortless charm and polished performance, while some reviews in Variety felt the adaptation lacked some of the sparkle of Coward's original play. Douglas was frequently cited as one of the film's strengths. His elegance and natural delivery helped carry the romantic story. Important trivia. The film marked one of Norma Shearer's final major screen appearances and was part of MGM's effort to bring Noel Coward's sophisticated stage comedies to movie audiences. The Sea of Grass, 1947.
I'll be a son of a gun.
I beg your pardon?
I said I'm a son of a gun. It isn't possible, of course, now is it?
What?
That you are Miss Lute Cameron of St. Louis in Points East. I, Miss Cameron, am an idealist. A practicing idealist. Look around you, Miss Cameron. You're out of place. The wine of the cow country is red-eye, not champagne.
After World War II, Douglas returned in the epic Western drama The Sea of Grass, directed by Elia Kazan and starring Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. Douglas played Bryce Chamberlain, a lawyer and political figure who develops a close relationship with Hepburn's character, creating tension within the story. The film explored themes of frontier life, land ownership, and changing American values. Critics focused primarily on the performances of Tracy and Hepburn, but Douglas earned praise for giving depth and intelligence to a difficult supporting role. His performance demonstrated his successful transition from romantic leading man to mature dramatic actor. The New York Times praised the film's ambitious scope, while reactions to the overall picture were mixed. Modern critics often view the film more favorably than reviewers did upon its initial release. Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, 1948.
You're not spending $11,500 for tennis courts.
That's not the point.
That's precisely the point. We're going to write this fellow Hackett a strong letter. Tell him he can either kick in with those 15 acres, reduce the price, or find another sucker.
One of the most beloved comedies of the post-war era, Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House starred Cary Grant and Myrna Loy as a couple whose dream home project turns into a hilarious nightmare. Melvyn Douglas played Bill Cole, Blandings' best friend and lawyer. Although a supporting role, Douglas brought warmth, intelligence, and understated humor to the film. Critics praised the chemistry among the three leads, and the New York Times considered the picture one of the year's most entertaining comedies. Today, it is regarded as a classic suburban satire and one of the defining homeownership comedies ever made. Trivia. The film became so influential that it inspired several remakes, including The Money Pit, 1986, A Woman's Secret, 1949, Directed by acclaimed filmmaker Nicholas Ray, A Woman's Secret is a film noir mystery starring Maureen O'Hara and Gloria Graham. Douglas played Luke Jordan, a radio broadcaster whose investigation helps unravel the truth behind a shooting involving two singers. The film received mixed reviews upon release, but critics generally praised Douglas's calm and believable performance. His character serves as the audience's guide through a story filled with jealousy, ambition, and deception. Trivia: the film is one of Nicholas Ray's earliest directorial efforts and has gained appreciation among noir enthusiasts over the years. On the Loose, 1951. On the Loose was a small, independent drama in which Douglas played Frank Johnson, a compassionate adult who becomes concerned about a troubled young girl struggling with loneliness and emotional neglect. The film focused on social issues rather than glamour, and Douglas delivered a restrained and sympathetic performance.
Lonnie, little by little, the look of the country changes because of the men we admire.
I still think you nailed him pretty hard.
Did I?
HUD, 1963. After years away from major stardom, Melvyn Douglas achieved one of the greatest triumphs of his career with HUD. The film stars Paul Newman as Hud Bannon, a selfish and morally reckless Texas rancher. Douglas played Homer Bannon, HUD's elderly father, a man of integrity, decency, and old-fashioned values. The conflict between Homer and his son forms the emotional core of the story. Douglas gave the character tremendous dignity and humanity, creating one of the most memorable fathers in American cinema. Critics were unanimous in their praise. The New York Times called Douglas's performance deeply moving and one of the film's greatest strengths. Variety praised the emotional authenticity he brought to the role. Many reviewers felt he nearly stole the picture from Paul Newman. Trivia: ironically, audiences often admired Newman's rebellious HUD, despite the film presenting Homer as the true moral center. Melvyn Douglas's unforgettable portrayal of Homer Bannon earned him the highest recognition of his career to that point.
The winner is Melvyn Douglas in HUD.
Accepting for Mr. Melvyn Douglas, Brandon DeWilde.
His deeply moving performance won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, firmly establishing him as one of Hollywood's finest dramatic performers. In addition to the Oscar, he received a Golden Globe nomination and was honored by the National Board of Review for his outstanding work.
I was only tolerated in this house because I paid the bills.
Oh, shut up. Don't you tell me to shut up.
Shut up! I've asked you to come with me. What do you want? What the hell do you want?
I Never Sang for My Father, 1970. Many critics consider this the finest dramatic performance of Melvyn Douglas's entire career. Based on a successful stage play, the film explores the painful relationship between an aging father and his adult son. Douglas played Tom Garrison, a stubborn, proud, emotionally distant father whose inability to express love damages his relationship with his son, played by Gene Hackman. The performance was extraordinary in its realism. Douglas avoided sentimentality and instead portrayed a complicated man whose flaws and vulnerabilities felt painfully authentic. The New York Times praised Douglas for creating a heartbreaking portrait of loneliness and aging. Variety described his work as masterful and emotionally devastating. Many critics considered it one of the year's greatest performances. Trivia: Douglas was nearly 70 years old when he delivered the role, proving he was still at the peak of his acting powers. Melvyn Douglas's remarkable performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, along with a Golden Globe nomination and recognition from the New York Film Critics Circle. Although he narrowly missed winning the Oscar, many film historians consider his portrayal one of the finest and most emotionally powerful performances nominated that year.
Yes, indeed, Chauncey. A productive businessman is a laborer in the vineyard.
Being there. 1979. At the age of 78, Melvyn Douglas delivered one final masterpiece in Being There, a satirical comedy drama starring Peter Sellers. Douglas played Benjamin Rand, a wealthy and powerful businessman whose friendship with the simple-minded Chance, played by Peter Sellers, drives much of the film's story. Rand gradually becomes convinced that Chance possesses profound wisdom, creating both humor and emotional depth. Douglas's performance was remarkable for its warmth, intelligence, and humanity. He transformed Rand from what could have been a stereotypical rich businessman into a deeply sympathetic figure confronting mortality and old age. Critics showered him with praise. The New York Times called his work touching and unforgettable, while Variety considered him one of the film's emotional anchors. Many reviewers believe Douglas matched Peter Sellers scene for scene. Melvyn Douglas's moving performance earned him his second Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, along with a Golden Globe, the National Society of Film Critics Award, and numerous other critics' honors. Today, Being There is widely regarded as one of the greatest films of the 1970s, and Douglas's unforgettable performance stands as a fitting final triumph in the career of one of Hollywood's most respected actors. One of the most important and enduring relationships in Melvyn Douglas's life began on Broadway in 1930 when he met actress Helen Gahagan during the production of Tonight or Never. Helen was not only beautiful and talented, but also highly intelligent, ambitious, and deeply interested in public affairs. The attraction between the two was immediate, and after a brief courtship, they married on April 24, 1931. At a time when Hollywood was becoming famous for short-lived romances and highly publicized divorces, the marriage of Melvyn and Helen proved remarkably strong. Friends and colleagues often described them as true partners who respected each other's careers and shared similar values. Their marriage lasted for the rest of Melvyn's life, more than 50 years, making it one of the most successful unions in Hollywood history. The couple had 2 children, a son, Peter, and a daughter, Mary Helen. Despite the demands of acting careers, political campaigns, and frequent travel, both Melvyn and Helen worked hard to maintain a close family life. Unlike many stars of the era, they avoided the constant gossip columns and public scandals that surrounded celebrity marriages. Their home became known as a gathering place for artists, intellectuals, writers, and political figures. While Melvyn continued building his reputation in Hollywood, Helen gradually shifted her attention toward public service and politics. During the 1940s, she became increasingly active in social causes and eventually entered political life. In 1944, she was elected to the United States House of Representatives, becoming one of the few Hollywood performers of her generation to successfully transition into national politics. Her intelligence, speaking ability, and commitment to public issues quickly earned her national recognition. The most dramatic chapter of Helen's political career came in 1950 when she ran for the United States Senate from California. Her opponent was a young congressman named Richard Nixon, who would later become the 37th President of the United States. The election developed into one of the most controversial and bitter political campaigns in American history. During the campaign, Nixon and his supporters attempted to portray Helen as being sympathetic to left-wing and communist causes. One of the most famous attacks labeled her Pink Lady, suggesting that her political views were too liberal for many voters. The accusations received enormous media attention and became a major talking point throughout the campaign. Although Helen strongly denied any communist connections, the Cold War atmosphere of the time made such allegations politically damaging. Because Melvyn was her husband and publicly supported her campaign, he was inevitably drawn into the controversy. Although he was never accused of any criminal wrongdoing, his liberal political beliefs and association with various social causes attracted attention during an era when many actors, writers, and directors were being investigated for alleged communist sympathies. The late 1940s and early 1950s were the years of the Red Scare, and the House Un-American Activities Committee investigations, when careers in Hollywood could be destroyed simply by suspicion or accusation. Unlike some of his colleagues, however, Melvyn avoided being blacklisted. Several factors helped protect him. He had established a strong professional reputation, maintained broad respect within the entertainment industry, and was never directly linked to the Communist Party. Nevertheless, the political climate created anxiety and uncertainty for many performers, and Douglas was not entirely immune to its effects. Despite these challenges, he continued to work steadily in films, television, and theater throughout the 1950s and beyond. Rather than allowing political controversy to define his career, he focused on his craft and eventually enjoyed one of the most remarkable late-career revivals in Hollywood history, culminating in Academy Award-winning performances in HUD and Being There. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this period is that the pressures of politics never seriously damaged the relationship between Melvyn and Helen. Through election victories, political defeats, public criticism, and changing careers, they remained devoted to one another. Their marriage survived the intense scrutiny of both Hollywood and Washington, a rare achievement in either world. By the time of Helen's death in 1980, the couple had spent nearly half a century together, and their partnership was widely regarded as one of the most enduring and admirable love stories of the golden age of Hollywood. Even in his 70s, Douglas remained active and respected throughout the entertainment industry. Younger actors admired his professionalism, intelligence, and versatility. He became regarded as one of the last surviving links to Hollywood's golden age. His performances continued to receive praise from critics and audiences alike. Melvyn Douglas passed away on August 4, 1981, at the age of 80. His death marked the end of a remarkable career that had spanned more than half a century. Hollywood mourned the loss of one of its most distinguished actors. Today, Melvyn Douglas is remembered as one of the most versatile performers in American film history. He successfully transitioned from stage actor to romantic leading man, and later reinvented himself as an award-winning character actor. His work in Ninotchka, HUD, I Never Sang for My Father, and Being There continues to be studied and admired by film enthusiasts. Few actors have enjoyed such a long, respected, and successful career. From sophisticated romantic comedies to powerful dramatic performances, Melvyn Douglas left behind a body of work that ensures his place among the legends of classic Hollywood.